Chinese man fined $100,000 for fake Canadian permanent resident card. St. James, Jamaica. A Chinese man, who failed in his attempt to leave the island on a fraudulent Canadian permanent resident card, received a monetary penalty of $100,000 when he appeared in the St. James Parish Court on Wednesday. Qin Zhang, 27, who is of a China address, pleaded guilty to uttering a forged document. According to court documents, on August 26 at about 12:30 p.m. at the Sangster International Airport, the accused man uttered a Chinese passport and a Canadian permanent resident card, both in his name, while checking in to board a WestJet flight to Toronto, Canada. The agent became suspicious as the permanent resident card was missing some security features. The matter was subsequently reported to the Investigation and Surveillance Unit. When the errors were pointed out to Zhang, he claimed that the document had been given to him by family members in China. The Canadian High Commission was contacted and the document was confirmed to be fraudulent. During Wednesday's hearing, Zhang told the court, through a Chinese translator, that the person who gave them the document told them it was a legitimate document that would allow him to travel to Canada, and he was unaware that it was fraudulent. Presiding Judge Sasha Marie Smith Ashley took into account his early guilty plea, his previous good character, and the fact that he has people who are dependent on him. She then imposed a $100,000 fine on him. If it is not paid, he will serve 30 days in jail. Truck driver robbed, shot in Moneed, St. Anne. St. Anne, Jamaica. A truck driver was robbed of his vehicle and cash before being shot and wounded in Moneed, St. Anne on Thursday afternoon. The injured man, who is said to be 47-year-old, and is reportedly from Linstead, St. Catherine, has since been hospitalized in serious but stable condition. It was reported that around 1:15 p.m., the truck driver was at a hardware store in 3 Miles, St. Andrew when a man chartered him to pick up plyboards in Moneed, St. Anne. On reaching Moneed, the police said, he was led to Hull Street to a house where 2 other men, armed with guns, were waiting. Police reports are that the gunman attacked and robbed the driver of $35,000, his driver's license and his Isuzu motor truck, which was reportedly valued at $2.5 million. One of the gunmen fired 2 shots in his direction, and he was hit in his right side. The police were informed, and he was taken to hospital, where he was admitted. Police have since launched a search for the truck and the gunman. The Moneed police are investigating. Parenting advice YouTuber Ruby Frank arrested on suspicion of child abuse. Authorities said that a Utah woman who gave online parenting advice via a once popular YouTube channel has been arrested on suspicion of aggravated child abuse after her malnourished son escaped a window and ran to a nearby house for help. Ruby Frank, whose now defunct Channel 8 passengers followed her family, was arrested Wednesday night in the southern Utah city of Ivins. She was taken into custody at the home of Jody Hildebrand, who owns a counseling business that she says teaches people to improve their lives by being honest, responsible, and humble. Frank has recently appeared in YouTube videos with Hildebrand that were posted online by Hildebrand's counseling business, Con Zion's Classroom. Frank's 12-year-old son climbed out of a window in Hildebrand's residence in Ivins and ran to a neighbor's house Wednesday morning and asked for food and water, according to an affidavit filed by an officer with the Santa Clara Ivins Public Safety Department. The neighbor saw duct tape on the boy's ankles and wrists and called law enforcement, the affidavit said. The boy was taken to a hospital, where he was put on a medical hold due to his deep lacerations from being tied up with rope and from his malnourishment, arrest records state. Officers said that Frank's 10-year-old daughter was later found malnourished in Hildebrand's house and was also taken to the hospital. The affidavit said 2 other of Frank's children were in the custody of Child Protection Services. Both Frank and Hildebrand were arrested on suspicion of 2 felony counts of aggravated child abuse, though charges have not been filed, according to authorities. Frank requested an attorney and did not speak with officers, the affidavit said. That attorney had not publicly been identified Thursday. A judge on Thursday granted the detective's request that Ruby Frank be denied bail. The detective cited the severity of the injuries of her 2 kids located in the home, and told the judge the Department of Child and Family Services had taken 4 of Frank's children into custody and the officer had yet to speak to 2 of them. While the children were found at Hildebrand's house, Frank had been seen on a YouTube video filmed at Hildebrand's house and posted 2 days earlier, indicating that Frank was present at the residence and had knowledge of the abuse, malnourishment and neglect, arrest records said. Hildebrand was also denied bail, court records said. A construction worker falls to his death in St. Andrew. A 61-year-old construction worker, who complained about feeling dizzy, reportedly fell to his death at an apartment complex worksite on Dillsbury Avenue in Barbican, St. Andrew, on Wednesday. The police have identified him as Ransford Grant of Darlaston District in Westmoreland. Grant reportedly died from injuries he sustained after he fell from the third floor of the building and hit his head. He was assisted to the hospital, where he was pronounced dead. The incident occurred at approximately 10:30 a.m. on Wednesday. The police told Erie News Media TV that Grant had complained about feeling dizzy 2 weeks ago. He was reportedly sent on a break but returned to work this week. 9-year-old Marley battles rare illness. Genetic disorder causes skin to tear, problems with swallowing, digesting. 9-year-old Marley Case, who is suffering from a rare genetic disorder, has only one wish: to be able to swallow and digest food with ease. Touted as the worst disease you never heard of, epidermolysis bullosa causes his skin to blister and tear with even simple friction. Therefore, he has always been in need of bandages. And with no known cure, managing the wounds has been a continuous exercise since birth. To a large extent, his treatment has been administered by his parents over the years. The disease has now reached a stage where there is a need for him to undergo a critical esophageal dilation operation overseas. His mother, Shauna Case, hopes the medical procedure can be done soon at the Children's Hospital of Philadelphia in the United States. This procedure is vital to alleviate Marley's difficulties with swallowing and will also enable him to receive proper nourishment and prevent potential complications. According to Marley, not only does he suffer from the pain associated with the dreadful disease, but also the emotional turmoil of not being able to enjoy certain foods he craves. At least a week ago, I went on the road with Mom and Dad, and I was going to have a chocolate bar, but then my throat never worked out and I never got to have a chocolate, Marley said in a recent video posted to YouTube to bring awareness to his case and his fundraising effort for treatment. Shauna told the Gleaner that it has been a struggle not only for Marley, but also his parents. We now have to look to go abroad, and it costs a lot of money. Marley is struggling to swallow. Sometimes he struggles to swallow water, and nutrition is a big deal. His throat lining seems to have constricted and there have been tears on it over time, and we've battled through it, but now, it really has gotten to a stage where he requires surgical intervention, and so we need help to raise funds, Shauna explained. Marley's condition causes his skin to be super duper fragile. He has to wear bandages. His skin blisters, and he has lived his life battling a lot of pain. He gets blisters on his skin, and his blisters extend. You see some on his face. They go on his hands, on his belly, on his feet, toes, and his fingers are fused, and there are a lot of complications, she told the Gleaner. Although their campaign meter on the GoFundMe platform states that the parents have raised $13,026 out of a goal of $15,000, the burdened mother says more money is needed, especially for care at their home in Mandeville. We live in a country where, currently, there is no facility here to help us. We do get to see a dermatologist and his pediatrician occasionally, but the truth is, his daddy and we have to do a lot of this by ourselves. But it has come to that time where we need help, she said. Marley's journey has been one of remarkable strength and resilience and a testament to God's grace, she says, given that he has faced numerous hardships and weathered storms uncommon for children his age. Despite the excruciating pain, incessant itching, and at times the horrifying 3-hour-long bath and bandaging sessions related by his parents, Marley's spirit remains unbreakable, illuminating the lives of everyone fortunate enough to know him. She indicated that when Marley attends his first epidermolysis bullosa clinic visit overseas, the specialists will help to determine his feeding options, whether multiple dilations or if a gastrostomy tube is needed. Shauna told the Gleaner that she is grateful for the help they have received thus far and is asking for more persons to make donations. Thank you to everyone who is thinking of donating. We appreciate everything. If you are unable to donate, we are still grateful to you if you could share this, she said. How you can help. Persons interested in donating can visit the Help Marley Eat GoFundMe page at https://gofundme/185eve7d or call his mom, Shauna Case, at 876-371-4328. Probe reveals significantly more victims in SSL fraud, other illegal activities detected. 7 months after a massive fraud was detected at Stocks and Securities Limited, SSL, investigators have uncovered that the number of affected accounts is almost double what was initially reported, increasing the size of the fraud by millions of US dollars. The Financial Investigations Division (FID) investigation announced in a news release Thursday that its probe into the fraudulent activities at SSL have revealed that there are now approximately 70 affected accounts compared to the just over 40 reported in the initial phase of the investigation. It also revealed an entrenched culture of gross mismanagement dating back well over a decade. The investigation is progressing with the application of the highest professional standards. It has taken on new dimensions which are wider than first expected, Director General of the FID, Selvin Hay noted. The investigation has also identified other fraudulent schemes at SSL which has resulted in the misappropriation and/or loss of numerous investors' funds amounting to over $10 million, he continued. The FID is robustly pursuing various lines of inquiry and taking all the necessary steps to lead evidence-based prosecutions in the court at the appropriate time against all guilty parties, to include Jean-Ann Panton, the sole accused perpetrator so far. The investigative process has brought together a variety of local regulatory and law enforcement agencies to include the Financial Services Commission, FSC, and the Jamaica Constabulary Forces, GCF, Fraud Squad. This is strengthened by investigative partnerships with the U.S.-based Federal Bureau of Investigations, FBI, and UK-based forensic accounting and intelligence firm Kroll, as well as relevant member countries of the Asset Recovery Interagency Network for the Caribbean, Aaron Carib, the release stated. Meanwhile, the FID's principal director of investigations Keith Darien added, the duration of the fraudulent activities as well as the variety of fraud has resulted in the investigative process taking an extended period. Prosecuting financial crimes requires meticulous evidence gathering to ensure success in the court and to follow the money so that any illicit funds or assets may be identified, restrained and recovered. Before the next court date, we anticipate the arrest and charge of other actors involved in the multiple fraudulent schemes recently discovered, Darien continued. There are certain deliberate actions being taken to support increased investigative efficiency. Our investigators have contacted the affected parties via email and phone calls, but the responses from some have been short of encouraging. We continue to appeal to those affected to contact the FID. It is a critical part of seeking justice through the courts. The closure of the NY radio station leaves Jamaican and Caribbean programs without a home. After some 40 years of Jamaican and Caribbean programming, WVIP 93.5 FM radio station in New Rochelle, New York in the United States, stopped broadcasting at midnight. Affected programs include Irie Jam Radio, Grooving Radio, and Link Up Radio. The station was recently sold by its owner to a Christian broadcast group in Houston, Texas, which plans to air Spanish-speaking Christian programming. WVIP 93.5 FM operated as a brokered station where anyone could purchase airtime to host their own program. With the sale of WIP, the Jamaican and Caribbean communities in New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, and surrounding states are now without a major outlet for such Caribbean programs. A scramble is now on to try to secure airtime on other radio stations. Reports reaching Irie News Media TV are that efforts are being made to try to purchase WLIB AM radio, which also went off air some time ago. Jamaican and Caribbean programs were previously carried on WLIB and WBLS before they were sold. Erwin Clare, who up until recently hosted a talk program on the station under the Irie Jam banner, said the shutting down of the station leaves a huge void in the community. For the first time in years, the annual West Indian Labor Day Parade, which celebrates Caribbean culture, will not have a radio home to bring audiences happenings from the festivities, he said. Clare said that the radio station provided not only entertainment programs geared to the community, but was the main disseminator of information. It was a prolific distributor of information to the community, not only what was happening in the United States but about happenings back in their homelands, he pointed out. He noted that several Caribbean prime ministers, ministers of government, business leaders, and community advocates appeared as guests on the station to provide information to the public on what was happening in their homelands. Our community does not have a daily newspaper, no television station, and now no radio station where we can get information specific to us, he said. Clare hopes that the void will be filled soon. Francine Chin, who is an early broadcaster on WVIP 93.5 FM, noted that it was the only radio outlet left to the community. I am left wondering what next. Where do we now turn for information and entertainment that are Caribbean-centered? She asked. Our community is still a radio listening community, so the need for radio programs is very great, she pointed out. Former New York City Councilwoman Una Clark told Irie News Media TV that the station's closure is a disservice to the community. Not only will our community as a whole be affected, but so too will be Caribbean businesses which depended on the station to advertise their goods and services, she told Irie News Media TV. We are losing a voice. It is sad to see it go, said veteran broadcaster Jeff Barnes in speaking about the closure of the station. Barnes, who is also an attorney, said that he wished there was unity in the broadcasting community as they could have come together to save the station. Executive producer and co-host of Grooving Radio, Clement Raz Clem Hume said the closure will have a massive effect on the community as it will now be left without a voice. For over 40 years the station has been a voice for the community, and with its closure that voice will be lost, he said. Hume said many community organizations which raise funds to support schools, hospitals and other charities in Jamaica will no longer have a voice to spread their message. It will have a devastating effect on our community, he said.